I'm Dr. Natalie Phillips, host of Just Connect, a show where we chat about connections through social media, learning opportunities, and through the people we meet every day. Join me every Wednesday on Facebook Live at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. I am an audiologist, a business owner, an entrepreneur, and a connector. This life is about connecting for the right reasons and to the right people. I believe making authentic and true connections lead to growth, change, and impacting the world.
All right. Hello. Hi, everyone. I am Dr. Natalie Phillips, and I am host of Just Connect. I have been working with my light. It's been kind of strange today, but I just wanted to say hello, and I wanted to remind people of some events that are coming up as people are coming on. And I want to put up our event here, first of all, which is, again, the Unbreakable event, Finding Strength in Imperfection, September 6th and 7th coming up. And I'm going to put a ticket link here in the comments because we are getting so excited. It's just a few more weeks out and there is so much to do, but we are getting some great people RSVPing and buying tickets. I do have a friends and family discount that I'm going to put in there. If you still want to come and you want to buy tickets, use that code and it'll save you some money. But I wanted to just talk a little bit more about this Unbreakable event with my friends Sarah Monaris, Christina Schnellman, Heather, there's a whole bunch of people planning it out. And then my dear friend Kirsten Hegelson is going to be coming out, and we are going to be doing this amazing event called a kintsugi activity. And she is going to lead us through that. And it's talking about really tearing down some different things that are strongholds and rebuilding it up to really know your beauty and your strength in every part of your journey. So that is coming up, and I am going to put my little marks up here. And hello, Anthony. Good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. I'm kind of excited about this topic today. And I know that I've talked about change in the past. I've talked about a couple of different things with change, and I don't know why I keep coming back to this topic, but it's like super just interesting, I guess, to me, or maybe it's something that I'm thinking about. Maybe it's something that, I just continue to have these conversations about. But what I wanted to do is, I know I've talked about change and how change is inevitable. I know I've talked about how we anticipate change, how, we choose change because we really truly believe that the decision that we're making is because it's right for us. And finally, the last time I talked about change, I think I talked about really changing your mindset and adapting and accepting change, and how we need to intentionally connect to people, even if it's something that we're moving on from. But if there are people that are there that we need to kind of continue to connect there. So it made me think, all this talk about change, what are we really learning about change? Those of you who have joined me, I know Anthony, you're on here. What have you learned so far about change? It made me just kind of think why I keep revisiting this topic. And what are you learning? Maybe what are we sharing with each other about change? And what are we teaching the next generation? I have to say that some of this topic came from my own experience, just with my kids starting with different schools and different school districts, and, going into a much bigger classroom. And I know we're seeing all of these different pictures of students going back to school, parents either celebrating or, saying goodbye, drop-offs at college. There's all this kind of different stuff going on change. And so if you're on here and you are watching and you are learning something about change right now, post it in the comments. I want to see what people are learning about change. Most of you know that I grew up in Hawaii. And if you don't know, now you do. But I grew up in Hawaii, and I actually did not grow up surfing, but I actually grew up boogie boarding. I played sports, and we went to the beach a lot, and we had beach practices, and we take out the boogie boards and we go and we jump on the board. And I know if there's somebody watching, my friend Marshall, he's like, stop calling it boogie boarding, because The boogie boards are actually a brand, but it's kind of like boarding, I guess. Anyway, so, I didn't grow up surfing, but I did grow up boogie boarding. And boogie boarding is a little bit different. Boogie boarding is different from surfing because you can technically take this boogie board all the way to the shore versus surfing. You kind of have to jump off and then swim in a little bit. You can probably surf all the way to the shore, but it's a little bit harder. Whereas boogie boarding, you're halfway on there and you are kind of taking that all the way to the shore, and then you stand up and you go back out. And it made me think about catching a wave. And for those of you who don't know, this is what I know about catching a wave. Catching a wave, they come in swells of about 2 or 3, so whether you're sitting on a surfboard and you're looking behind you, watching for these swells to come up behind you, or whether you're lying on your boogie board and you're waiting for the wave to come, waves come in about 2s or 3s. So if you miss the first one, don't worry about it because there's a second one or a third one. And then it kind of goes silent a little bit. And then there's another swell of 2 or 3 waves that come. And so that's one thing that I know is that they come in swells. Number 2 is that you have to kind of catch it at a certain time. When you're catching a wave, you can't go too early, right? And you can't go too late or you're going to miss it. But you have to kind of catch it right at the break so that it propels you forward and you don't have to do much after that once you catch it. So you have to time it right. You either have to paddle and you have to kick as hard as you can. If you tip the front forward on your boogie board, you actually go head over heels. And I've done that a couple times. And you end up being like under the water, not knowing where the top is. And you just go way far under and you're just like swimming, in endless water in different directions and everything. So that's what happens if you go too fast and your top goes forward. If you lean far too back on your board, then you'll miss it. You won't make it. And then the wave will just actually kind of go under you and it'll be over the ride. You won't be able to catch that ride. But if you catch it just right, you will catch it to the end. I do have something that I want to show you here about boogie boarding. So let me just put this up here and have you guys watch this real quick. Okay, wasn't that fun? Okay, so that was my son. And one time when I took him out to Hawaii, we actually put his GoPro on his boogie board and we watched him. But did you see he caught that wave? He caught it all the way to the shore and then he was able to stand up and then head back out. So anyway, so Anthony's here. He says, to change your culture, you must change your mindset. For me, I refused to adapt and change when I sold cars. But as a trainer, I have realized the error of my ways and now welcome the changes in my life that have made me become the best version of myself. Thank you so much for sharing that, Anthony. That's true. There's certain things that I know we joke that I'm a tiger mom and, Anthony, you're also a tiger person. But it's like, it's not always your way or the highway, right? And that's what you're saying here is that you refuse to adapt and change at first, but as you became a trainer, you understood that you had to kind of mold with everything, right? And just kind of go with the flow. And so that's what my topic is. I know, like I said, I've talked a lot about change, but this particular one that I wanted to focus on is, moving through and moving with the change. And so I wanted to show that really, really cool video of my son catching a wave, just because for those of you who haven't been there, it's something so special about really timing things right and really catching that wave so that you can go all the way to the shore. And so how do we relate that to life? How do we relate it to life? Do you feel things in your life come in swells or waves? Do you feel like you're a surfer? Do you see that opportunity? And if you know that if you go too hard, you may fall and you may fall or fail fast. You may fall forward. You may go under and be in that wave in all those different directions that I talked about. Do you feel that you have to quickly decide if you're going to kick hard and catch that wave and catch hold of it? Or if you wait, do you think that you wait too long so that wave just goes underneath you or that opportunity is gone before you even had a chance to really consider it? So I've had a lot of conversations this week, and this is what made me really think about how we actually move through change and how we keep going because life keeps going. And these conversations surrounded, and in its conversations, it's also watching people, on social media and seeing how, they're either excited or they're sad and they're going through all these different emotions with different changes in their life, especially now that school is going back into session. But, this might be around new schools. This might be around new schedules. Like I said, college drop-offs are tugging at my heartstrings because I know I'm going to be there at some point. Maybe the changes I'm seeing and conversations I'm having are new friends, new friends that you have to make because you're starting someplace new, whether it's a school, whether it's a move, a job, you're making new friends. Maybe not being successful in setting boundaries. That's another type of change that we constantly have to continue to be on top of it, is being successful in setting boundaries, saying goodbyes. And then also I had a conversation this week about knowing when to jump off the train and wondering then if it's too early. And so those are some of the conversations that I'm having, and it made me start thinking about this change. And all of this stuff, it's life, right? It just keeps going. So how do we keep taking these steps to move with life, to move with the change? And so today I wanted to talk about steps in how we can be better in moving through, but more importantly, moving with the wave of change and transition. So I have 3 different things that I want you to think about. Number 1 is focus on the positives. Focus on the positives. So think about the benefits, the opportunities, maybe even the peace you need by doing something different or closing that chapter and moving on. So don't think about the negatives, but instead try to find the positives in this change that you're experiencing right now and see if it's something that you can really pull out and really focus on that. And that's going to help you get through. Second thing, to help you move with these changes and transitions, is focus on what you can control. My good friend Amit Gozalia, Dr. Gozalia, always tells me control the controllables, right? So think about it. Is there something that you can do to reach out or to change your mindset in order to start whittling away at the I can'ts and to start building up the I cans? Because I can control blank. Right? So instead of saying, oh, I can't do that, or, oh, I can't make that friend, or, oh, I'm not going to sit next to that person, or, oh, I can't reach out because it's just awkward, or I can't go talk to my boss, or I can't, enough with the I can'ts, but instead think about what you can do, what you can control, and move forward that way, right? So number 1 is focus on the positives. Number 2 is focus on what you can control. Number 3 is focus on moving forward and taking the next step. So no matter what kind of change you're going through, whether it be, meeting a new friend or trying something new, have a plan of action and make realistic goals. So focus on moving forward and taking the next step includes action and goals. So fill in this blank for me. If, put it in the comments, think about it. Today I will blank. Just one short goal for the next day, for tomorrow. Today I will blank. What will you do to move with this change, to think positively, to focus on what you can control? Or maybe it will be this comment, this week I will blank. So whether it's what am I going to do tomorrow or what am I going to do within this next week to actually feel like you are moving with this change better. So those are the 3 ways that I wanted to talk about today, is focus on the positives, focus on what you can control, and focus on moving forward and taking the next step by action and goals. The only way to make sense of change is to really dive in, move with it, join in, and dance. And if you think about a dance partner, the bodies have to be congruent in order for it to be something beautiful. Yes, there are different things that happen in dance that, are really cool because there's so many things going on. But if you actually just have one partner, you have to kind of move and ebb and flow with that and try to fit in. So that's really what I wanted to talk about today with change, is that we have to continue to move through change and move with the change. And so I'm going to throw in one other extra tip, because it made me think for those of you who have been on the water or in a boat, Have you ever felt like after you spent the day out there, whether it's whitewater river rafting, whether it's just floating on a boat, whether it is catching waves, have you ever laid down and you can still feel like the bed moving and you still feel like you're going with the ebbs and the flows of the waves, well, my audiology self is going to hop in and tell you what that is, because it actually is something medical going on, or physiological, I should say. So this actually goes back to the 1700s. Erasmus Darwin, I looked it up, who was actually Charles Darwin's grandfather, actually recorded one of the first, if not the first, description of this condition. And the condition is called, for my audiology folks out there, Debarquement Syndrome. And in other words, what it means is illness of disembarkation, or feeling unwell when you get off the boat. For some reason, for some weird reason, I don't know why, but it is more common in women in their 40s or so. But luckily, it is a temporary thing. And so what scientists are thinking that what happens is that you have in your head this model of the world and how you're relating to it. And in other words, if the world is moving, then you're modeling that movement and working out how to compensate for it, either with movements of your head and eyes or your balance system, so that you don't fall over. So you're trying to compensate because things that you're seeing in your eyes are not kind of matching up with your balance system. So you try to overcompensate for that, right? And then when you come back on land, so that's when you're on the boat, but when you come back on land, these signals are still being fed into your system and these models of how you should be interacting with the world. And when those signals are coming in, now you're not continuously in motion anymore. So that very thing, that maldebarquement, where you feel like you're still moving and you've gotten off the boat or you've gotten out of the water, your body is still expecting you to be in motion. And so when you're no longer in motion, the result is that you predict how you should respond. Again, you're overcompensating and you predict how you should respond, and these movements are actually not correct. They're incorrect. And so you experience these really, really strange feelings and sensations, even though the world is at stop. It is at a stop, I'm sorry. And so that's Debarquement Syndrome, and it's kind of funny. I know I kind of went clinical on you, but you know what the interesting is, the fact is that the world and life and change is continuously moving and happening, right? So will you continue to respond to these movements incorrectly and experience this feeling of being unwell and off kilter, or will you adapt and move with the wave of change? And so that's my topic today, and I am so glad that you guys could join me or watch the replay. I just wanted to kind of continue through this topic of change and add one more thing as I was thinking about it. So thank you so much for joining, and I'm so glad that you were able to either join or catch the replay. If you have missed anything at all, don't forget I do have a YouTube channel that you can go to. Type in Dr. Natalie Phillips, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you know when I drop another video in there. And again, for those of you who are already on here, this is the best way to find me, so that way you can follow me live. I go live every Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So I'm so glad that you guys were able to join, and I will see you next week. All right, bye.